the abilities. I think the thing that separates like the top level teams, like just in practice, is like their ability, like synergy, I guess. Like you watch European teams. I haven't watched much Korean Valorant, but I know the European teams have like really, really good like synergy like between their utility and like the abilities. I think that's like I don't think they're better individuals than the NA teams, and I'm not sure they would actually beat the North American teams just because of like the firepower potential difference.
Nice.
Like I can't say for sure. Like you really can't compare them to the teams actually play. But like just
Yeah.
watching the way the European teams play, it looks a lot more consistent than the way the North American teams play for the most part.
You look beautiful.
I can't even keep a serious face right now. Uber, keep going, dude.
This happens at the beginning of every interview.
This is my favorite
love this
Egro
guy.
now. Let's go.
I love this guy.
Great to have you here, man. Obviously, yeah, like I was sort of mentioning in the intro, and I got rudely interrupted by my peanut gallery co-host. So, you know, you're quite a storied history in Counter-Strike, man. You know, through Team Singularity, Swole Patrol, everyone remembers that roster. E United, then Chaos, of course. After Steel retired, you sort of stepped in as the IGL. But not so long ago, people got pretty excited because you sort of made a tweet saying, "Yeah, I'm looking to move over to Valorant." Can you maybe talk us through a little bit of that decision? Obviously, it's quite a big one to make the move.
Well, my webcam disappeared for some reason. But I don't know. I was considering switching when this game first came out because I've been playing the same game since I was 15. Well, I mean, I've been playing the Counter-Strike series since I was like 3 years old, so I guess not the exact same, right? But CS:GO, what is wrong with
Yeah, I think your internet is ghetto, man. Is he lagging out for anybody else, or is it?
I think it's the cat ears, man. I think
No,
it's
the cat
for
ears,
me,
man.
you know?
It's too
It's
much
not my
for the
it's not my
servers.
webcam. It's
I mean,
it's
this
my
freeze frame
mic.
is really,
My mic is probably too far from my.
This is a
mouth.
really good picture of you.
Overall,
But,
though,
Anthony.
the
no.
freeze cam is perfect for this.
is.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
no.
so wholesome.
I think
It's pretty cute.
the main reason, like, I don't know, I've been playing the same map since I was like 15, like, is when I started like consistently playing Counter Strike.
Hmm.
So, and I think there's been 3 meta changes in Counter Strike since then, maybe 3. Like the only 2 the big ones are the SG meta, and then the economy changes are like the only 2 updates, I guess, than Vertigo, which is not really a meta change, it's just a map. Like finally they changed something, right? But I don't know, it's kind of just boring. 'Cause I came from Call of Duty initially competing, and then they added an age restriction to that. And I was like a big fan of like I think I'm a relatively fast learner, and I like adapting and like stuff like that just because I came from COD. So
Okay. So I actually had a question relating to that too about your switch from CSGO to Valorant. So for you, it's more about how the CSGO wasn't really there to keep you attached to the game in terms of like changing the meta or adding new things. But was there anything about the development of the scene in North America? Was it like more difficult because people kept talking about how tier 1 NA or just NA CSGO was like dying towards the mid end of 2020? Was that one of the things that also affected your decisions?
no, honestly, I had offers to stay in Counter Strike that I wouldn't really have preferred to like stay in with. Like there was no like the only offer that I was considering staying in with for was Gen G before they released their roster. Because my big thing was I wanted to play with the people that I was playing with. I didn't really have interest in playing with most of the players in North America. I think the only player that's still in NACS that I would like go out of my would play with would be OC on Extra Salt. There's not very many people. Like I don't think these people are like bad, but it's just like I like playing with people that I'm comfortable with. It's not like needed, but if I'm not gonna be getting like these paychecks that some of these guys are getting, I'm not gonna stay in like a game that I'm not really into anymore.
So how does that bring you into to Valorant now? Because you're saying that you want to play with people that you're most comfortable with or that you enjoy playing with. So tell us a little bit about the version 1 roster here.
I mean, it came together. Me and Zelsis have always like wanted to play together for a long time. We played together for like a brief stint on Swole Patrol before he joined Cloud9. We kind of talked to each other. It's kind of funny because like when that happened, he was telling me about it, and then I was like, we both know this isn't gonna go very well, but you can't really say no to Cloud9, right? He's like, yeah. And then the rest is history, right? Like, we transferred to Swole Patrol, we transferred to E United. I don't know. That was an interesting experience in itself. It was definitely something I went through.
So how did that come together with Player 1 and FEs into the roster?
When I initially switched, we were planning on switching with my entire CS team minus Leaf because he joined Cloud9, obviously. And then Zeppa got that from Cloud9, and then we tried out Player 1 as our 5th. and we tried out Celsius. We tried out a bunch of people, and then we tried out or then Zeppa got the offer from Cloud9. And I was like, okay, I don't really want to try to rebuild with 3 people because I think that'd be too difficult. Like, I kind of want to play with people that have played the game at like a relatively high level, and Effie's and DL1 have had a pretty moderate success. I mean, they were on the top 5 team for probably a majority of the year until the roster moves, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. You were saying
Sorry about
something?
that. Yeah, I was gonna say, so legitimately, like even looking at your roster, right? So the 2 biggest matches that a lot of us have seen of you guys going against FaZe. Now, unfortunately, y'all lost against FaZe, man. Vanity, I expect so much more from you, man. But looking at the way the placements are going in Valorant right now, right? It's everywhere. TSM, 100 Thieves, they didn't even make it to Masters. Like, look at the top 4 right now. It is crazy. What is your thought on the revolving door of top 4 teams in Valorant? And what do you think your team has to do in order to make it there right now? Honestly.
I mean, I think the biggest, like, I don't even think like the ups, like, I don't consider these upsets really. It's like if you come into a new game, the people
Yeah.
that weren't relevant before are going to outwork the people who came from like a success, right? Like a bunch of these CS pros, I don't know. I feel like most people, like a lot of them, I'm not saying they are, but it's like it feels like these teams are just putting them to work, like people that you haven't heard of as much, right? Like this XSET team, I think some of them like were from like random games like Crossfire, like other things like that. Like not like I think the only team that's still that's consistently performed throughout the game who had CS pros is Sentinels. Obviously, 100 Thieves had people switch midway through. Envy's been relatively consistent, but like they've had some woes. But it's like these new teams are coming through because they're just simply outworking. It feels like. Obviously, I can't say for sure, but that's what it feels like because it looks like the amount of like Valorant I've watched, like doing watch parties and stuff. These teams have like some super interesting stuff compared to like the same teams where like or like the old dog, I guess, like the established CS pros.
Yeah.
It seems like they're like trying to just get by on out aiming these people when it's like the abilities or how you be a consistent team in this game, rather than just relying on headshotting, which is a different story. But
Ooh.
I'm glad that you bring that up because
Yeah.
I think there's always a debate. It's just kind of gets a bit old at this point. People sort of talking about the differences from Counter-Strike to Valorant. But I'd like to get your take on it. Maybe how you have adapted. You say you're a quick learner and you'd like to put yourself in a position where you have to adapt. So can you talk us through some of the changes you've had to sort of experience coming to Valorant from CS?
I mean, I think the biggest difference, right? Obviously, the abilities, like the aiming and all that's like similar. The game is pretty similar, like the 5v5 plant and diffuse scenarios. But it's like the abilities. I think the thing that separates like the top level teams, like just in practice, is like their ability, like synergy, I guess. Like if you watch European teams, I haven't watched much Korean Valorant, but I know the European teams have like really, really good like synergy like between their utility and like the abilities. I think that's like I don't think they're better individuals than the NA teams, and I'm not sure they would actually beat the North American teams just because of like the firepower potential difference.
Nice.
Like I can't say for sure. Like you really can't compare until the teams actually play. But like just watching the way the European teams play, it looks a lot more consistent than the way the North American teams play for the most part. Obviously, there's like teams that play more like loose style in Europe, and there's gonna be teams that play more strict in North America. But like on average, the European teams seem to like want to use the abilities a lot more, like synergistically, compared to the North American counterparts. I mean, if you look at Korea, it's like those guys,
They're
they have it.
nuts.
Everyone's running breach.
The Korean abilities are just next level. But I think Europe has some pretty cool ideas too that are worth looking at. That I think, given time, the North American teams will adapt to, because I think that once international competition happens, like I don't think you'll be able to consistently win in this game with shooting just because of how like easy it is to kill people. That makes sense. Like the skill ceiling isn't very high, like aim wise.
Yeah, actually, that brings to an interesting point here going into back in NA, because you talk about stylistic changes, different types of playstyle for regions. But if you're looking at NA in general, you have a team like Immortals or LG that are going to be more loose, more aggressive. You have a team like 100 Thieves that are a little bit more set strat and like more meticulous in their execution. Then you have a team like Sentinels that could kind of do both, that faces off against those two playstyles. You as an IGL, what do you think seems to be the type of right play here in NA?
I mean, we just got into the tier 1 scrim group like last week, so it's hard to say, right? Like we haven't been scrimming like the best team, so
really,
it's pretty hard to say.
You need to be voted in. I heard someone mention.
Yeah. We got voted in like last week or something, but then I didn't have power for the first week, so that was pretty cool.
Should have messaged me. I'm part of that.
I don't know. It's hard to say like for sure because I haven't really experienced it firsthand. Like watching, obviously, it looks like the only consistent team in NA is Sentinels. Like you can't make a counter argument.
No, no.
So they play a big mix of both, which I think is needed. Like I don't think you'll consistently get away with playing one style or the other. You need to be able to understand like the game at like a deeper level, which seems like they do.
We've seen obviously the frenzy and the stinger kind of dominate, especially in like the second round force. Lately. Obviously, yeah, obviously less than ideal. You know, it's reminiscent of the Tech 9 rush that I think we used to see a little bit in Counter-Strike. Do you think these changes are enough to address maybe the issue right now we're having in Valorant with the running and gunning playstyle and how it just sort of throws everything up in the air?
I don't think they're never gonna remove running and gunning. That's what I don't understand. Like it's just not going to happen. They're trying to make a more accessible tactical FPS. The reason Counter-Strike isn't popular among like the common people, right? The game, if you're not good at Counter-Strike, I don't understand how it's enjoyable. That's pretty much like I would like try to get my school friends to play with me, like college friends. It's like, dude, this game, it's just not fun for them. They can't be good. But like in Valorant, there's like, I don't know what like a handicap, I guess. Probably is like I don't know how to describe it. Like you don't have to invest thousands of hours to like enjoy playing Valorant.
Accessibility.
Yeah.
The accessibility's there. It's more fun with the abilities.
It's the same thing that League did with or Riot did with Dota, right? Like they took like the model and they made it more accessible. And it's just like it's like I don't know. Obviously, like switching to the Stinger and Frenzy. Like I switched to the game as those were meta, so that was pretty fun. Definitely had a lot of fun during my time. Now we're in the Bucky meta. This one's even worse. Just wait till you see this.
Oh God.
Bucky Guardian.
Okay, so you sort of say how the skill ceiling maybe is a little bit lower, or the game is more accessible in general. Is it still as satisfying? When you say like you only enjoy Counter-Strike if you're really good at it. Is it still satisfying in Valorant to when you feel like you really have success despite it being more accessible? Do you still get that same rush of when things start to click? Do you feel?
Oh yeah, for sure. I honestly enjoy this. Like, I think this game. Obviously, maybe it's because I played Counter-Strike for so long, but I like competing in this game more just because there's so much going on. And I don't know, I like constant action. It's very weird. I like chaos. Like I always like the chaotic like scenarios in CS, and I think this game kind of provides that. But
super chaotic.
I
mean, I like you bring this up because you've IGL'd in Counter-Strike and now in Valorant, and you mentioned how it's so different. But can you maybe like for some of those who don't know how IGLing maybe works, especially in Valorant, can you talk us like how is it different for you having to IGL in a game that's got so much more going on, as you put it?
I think the biggest difference in CS and Valorant IGLing is in Valorant you can't really have one IGL because of how like much stuff goes on. In CS, I think it was a lot easier. Like pretty much if you don't have like three, maybe this is wrong, but I feel like you need like pretty much everyone has to give input in this game. Whereas in CS, you could get away with only like 2 people giving like consistent input. But in this game, it's just like there's so many abilities, so many things you need to keep track of, so many like Sova's use shock darts, Sova uses recon, Cypher, like you break their trips, like those are like important pieces of info, and if those aren't communicated, it's kind of hard to IGL, right? So I think that's kind of what separates a lot of these teams in a way, and I think that's what makes this game a lot more, I don't know, engaging as an IGL, I guess, because I feel like in CS, there's a right way to play and there's a wrong way to play. The only team that's ever challenged the meta was Furia, and obviously they've done a pretty good job at it. I like playing like that, but it's just for another day. But
so who are the vocal ones then? If you're talking about 3 IGL-ish players, so would it be FEs and Zelsis? And when do they speak? What do they bring into the play style when you're in a round specifically?
I mean, all 5 of us talk a fair amount. Like it's not just me, Jordan, and FEs. But I would say that we're probably the 3 most vocal. But it's like if people see an opportunity, they like they'll like ask. It's the same thing in CS, right? Like you see something, you want to do it. Like, oh, I think we should do this, and it's like a yes or no from me essentially. But I think probably FEs is probably the most consistent secondary IGL. I think he gives the best ideas for the most part a lot of the time. Obviously, like everyone has their like good calls and stuff.
So we're heading into obviously VCT number 3, Challengers 3 pretty soon. And looking at the bracket, you guys looks like to get out of the round of 32, you'd have to play against Dignitas. So I mean, what are your guys' expectations, for yourselves now? Because it's a very new team, but you have the kind of challenge of like being plonked right in the middle of really important competition. So, I guess maybe you could talk about your expectations for you guys going forward, and also what you expect to see from some of the other teams, like who maybe you expect to see qualify for Masters in this next batch of teams?
I mean, expectations for ourselves would obviously ideally be to qualify. Obviously, we have to take down Dignitas and TSM throughout the path, or that's who. Like, if matchups go as they should, it should be
Mhm.
something similar to that, which I don't think is completely unrealistic. I think this game is pretty like day to day, like for the most part. I think especially like at this current time, seems to look pretty shaky. I don't know. I think Dignitas has people as like they just picked up Ryan, who's been playing even shorter than I have, which I think I don't know. I always beat Ryan in CS, so it'd probably be the same in this game.
Chaos and triumph.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I expect to make it out. If we don't get it out, it's not super disappointing, right? Like TSM's been playing this game for almost a year at this point, and I have been playing 2.5 months, 2 months maybe. Same thing with Penny. He's also switched like 4 months, like 4 months or like a few months before me. So it's like, yeah, we want to make it, but it's not the end of the world if we don't. It's like getting the match experience that these guys have because they've played like probably hundreds of matches, and I've played like 12, I think.
That brings a
Actually,
question. That brings a question
yeah.
to me. So Vanity, with that being said, there seems to be like no sudden urgency to be the best and be a championship, type of team, right? We all know that this year is basically like it's a COVID year, right? Like literally, to me, it looks like this whole Masters year is for COVID. Whatever, just to get the competition rolling, put money in your pockets, and have good content.
Yeah.
For a lot of teams out there that we talk about or other people see out there, do they have the same type of mindset for just getting ready for next year? Like, is there a big urgency for like the majority of the teams or just a select few?
I genuinely have no clue. I don't know. I've never been like
Okay.
super results oriented
Okay.
in like my teams in the past, so it's like I really can't be disappointed regardless of the result as long as it feels like people are if people aren't trying, feels like people aren't trying, and that's like when I get
Okay.
frustrated. But like as long as we're trying, if we lose, it doesn't really matter. Like we're putting in the effort. Like you really can't ask for much more.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I want to bring the curveball actually when you're talking about the switches and how long you've been playing and stuff like that too. And I want to talk about rosters from outside of version 1. So the first one being automatic, right? So
Yeah.
automatic is probably the biggest, hottest news from CSGO switching over to Valorant. I'm pretty sure you had a chance to watch T1 play as well, and and Curry pretty closely for
Yeah.
playing against him or with him as well in CSGO. What are your thoughts about how T1 looks like so far?
I have no clue honestly. We scrim them. They look pretty good in scrims, but at the end of the day, it's just practice, right? And you have to show up in the matches.
Mm-hmm. Do you think like somebody like automatic needs a little bit more time to actually be in like how much time does he need to be able to be at that top form that he would be in CS:GO, knowing like if you have to practice the game that much?
Yeah. I have Tim added, and I see him on a lot. So I mean, I don't think it's like it's just like an acclimation period, right? He's been playing way shorter than I have. Obviously, I think he played throughout his time playing CS, whereas I only touched the game in the beta, so maybe he'll
Mm-hmm.
adapt a little bit faster. But
Yeah.
I mean, Tim should be fine. He has a good work ethic, pretty good
Yep.
teammate from what I've heard. I really haven't heard much bad about him. I think he should be fine. I don't know. Obviously, I wouldn't expect like super insane like statistical performances from him, just
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much like even if you see things in scrims, it's not the same as what people do in matches. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy difference. But
You're right.
like abilities and stuff, like people hide like these. It's pretty insane. So I think it's like an acclimation period. But I don't know, 2 to 3 months realistically, maybe a little longer. It just depends how hard he works. But literally every time I'm on, I see Tim on, so I would have
Yeah.
high expectations for him.
Awesome.
Moving on a
And
little bit.
yeah.
I just want to give a quick update right now. So you guys have been wondering what the hell Uber's been looking at. Uber's
Yeah. I
power
was like, is he looking at brackets?
Uber's power has been lost in his house. I mean,
Nice.
we should meme this and like the best caption wins like $5 in the chat, right? But right, chat. Actually, you know what? Meme it. What is Uber looking at, right? But I'm moving forward, Vanity, to kind of bring this interview along more. So Masters is coming. There's a best of 5 today. We've seen what's been happening with the VCTs, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to take Masters, man? Give me that bold prediction. Let me know how
Is
you
it
really feel.
is it Envy Sentinels, right?
Envy Sentinels, yeah. But I mean, this one, okay. So this one, I have this match. I don't really expect much because they're not going to show much. But when it comes to Masters, we know what the 4 teams are. What do you think is the best looking in that?
I mean, it's got to be Envy Sentinels.
Envy
Mhm.
Sentinels,
I
yeah.
would.
Okay.
I don't know who you. I haven't paid attention, but I think Envy might have an advantage because I think Envy plays all 5 maps. Maybe I'm wrong. and Sentinels doesn't typically play bind. Like I
Right.
could be
Yeah.
wrong. I don't know for sure, but I think I've seen Envy play all 5 maps, which
Yeah.
gives them an advantage in a BO5, obviously, if there's not a map advantage, which I don't believe
Yeah.
there is, and I could be wrong. There might be a map advantage, but
I feel like they cut a bit more Haven than the other 4 maps, but I do feel even after
they've
watching
played
like
they've
the
played Haven, right? Like they have, yeah.
yeah
Yeah.
And
yeah another
I
like
don't know how much I don't think I've ever watched Sentinels play bind. Obviously, they've probably
yeah
played it, but I have never
I
seen
don't
it
read them.
personally because I've been watching very long.
Right.
But
So
yeah we always talk
Vans,
about deep map pool.
But if
I
it's
feel
the
that definitely
BO5, I
Envy's
mean,
out
you
there.
kind of have to favor Envy just because they play the other map more consistently. But I
Mm.
mean, I don't know. Envy looked really good in their last batch, but obviously that was the first time they've ever beat Sentinels, so you don't know if that's like a consistent thing, which I think I really don't know who to pick, honestly. The BO5, I would say Envy, but in a BO3, it's like whoever's feeling it that day. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, what's your take on Immortals in LG then? Because everybody's now saying like, don't sleep on the Immortals, don't sleep on the LG. What are your thoughts of their development in 2021?
I mean, it's funny enough. I was actually in talks with both of these teams.
Ooh,
Yeah, but
give us some spice.
I don't know.
spill the beans, man.
I think all the. I mean, they're both really good teams, right? Like, I think that
Mhm.
the LG core in itself was like really, really talented. They were one of the better cores, even without the results in the beginning of this game. And then they picked up 2 really talented players, which just like propels them really far. Same thing
Mhm,
with
mhm.
NG or LG. Sorry, I think they have a really talented core also. It's like they just needed like pieces that fit with them.
Yeah. So Vans, before we have Anthony pretty much, say what he has to say to the chat before he leaves, are there any final questions you want to ask him? Because I'm gonna be real,
Yeah.
Rockers creating version 1 and coming to Valorant has been a big move. I'm really expecting big things, but yeah, Vans, what was the last thing you wanted to throw out there?
I think I wanted to try something new in like our segments with the interviews as well, and especially now that we have Anthony on as an IGL, I wanted to
Yeah.
discuss like one of the plays. I think it's looking back at Immortals' matchup versus Sentinels. One thing that was very surprising for me is the fact that Immortals brought in Sova, right? So Gangsta started playing that agent on Split. And I wanted to know your thoughts, Vanity, because when you're looking at that matchup overall, at least on defense, he was playing towards the A side a lot to try to counter Dapper with the Cypher. And what are your thoughts first with Sova being in the lineup?
I mean, we streamed some team that it wasn't Immortals that played it, so I don't
Mhm.
really remember, but someone tried it against us, and I just don't know how consistent his darts are because of the amount of like heat. Like, there's just so much on the map to hide behind, right? Like, it's really hard to
Yeah.
get darts that are gonna scan the things. I think
Mhm.
that's the main reason he's not played, and his ults aren't very strong on this map because of the elevation changes. But I mean,
Yes.
I didn't get to watch the match, so I have no clue how impactful it actually was.
Yeah. Actually, you're right about that one because there was at one point where Gangsta, I think, was trying to ult.
It's very difficult to ult on
sick.
this map. I've played
Exactly.
I've played Sova and ranked on this map just like for fun, and like it's just there's so many like little elevation changes that are bigger than you'd think they are.
Yeah. And that's the example. It's like he was trying to ult from sewers into ropes, and as soon as Sick went onto the ropes and vents, it was like all 3 shots missed right
Yeah.
after, even though like the corridor is so small in there.
Yeah.
But looking at this play itself, just to give you an idea, I guess if you haven't really watched the game, is to look at the play once it's going to replay. So what they kind of did here was that they utilized Gangsta's owl drone to actually tag Shazam on the top of heaven. Right, so that's the jet and blue.
Yeah.
So once he gets tagged, he falls back while the smokes are also coming into the site. And I do like the fact that you tag the jet because now when you turn into the A main, you kind of eliminate the fact that you want to guess, is it going to be on the top of the rafters or inside hell by the pot? So that cancels that. The second one is the dart is thrown right by elbow. So that could actually ping out any players that is running through the smoke so they know if the Sentinels are going to pressure back. And at the same time, you saw the paranoia into the A main that tries to hit Zoms. And then the dash comes in from the jet in order to, from chemicals, to try to add that pressure, right? That quote unquote flash and dash, which the flash came from the paranoia on the right side. So the hit itself was actually pretty nice. In the end, it still lost the round because they just couldn't kill Zoms at elbow.
You know why, right? It's Sova, man. They relied heavily on Sova's dart right there, baby. So we saw when that smoke came out from Omen, right? Uber kills me with his face though. I'm gonna make
It's actually hilarious.
right. When the dart came out towards elbow, so it wasn't the Omen that was right there. It was basically Raze. Raze popped out that smoke, surprise, motherfucker. She
Mhm.
got clapped immediately. So off the top, they're like, okay, that's elbow. Elbow is dead. And what happened? The elbow player gets a 3K. Or was it a 4K to win the round? That's the way I took it, fans.
I just
Mhm.
think, yeah, I think there's too many corridors that you can get in and out of for the darts to be effective on this map.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he has some stuff that we've never seen, but I just like in my head, just looking at it, it's like even if you think you scan an area, it's so fast to get out compared to the other maps. It's
Mm.
like everything is so close quarters on this map compared to like of the other maps where there's like open areas where people will be standing in and anchoring in.
Yeah.
It's like even on both bomb sites, right? Like there's the entire pillar to dodge around. There's even a new like the new box on B site that
Yeah.
you can also use to dodge that wasn't there before. So maybe like it just there's so many like weird, I don't know what to call, like just off angles, I guess, or like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just like so many spots that I think you could hide from the darts. I mean, obviously I haven't watched theirs, like tried it, but I think there's a reason that people typically don't run Sova on split. And I think
That's
one of the
okay.
reasons is he probably has the strongest ult in the game, and his ult is pretty weak on this map.
Yeah, again, because of the elevation. Although there are some
Yeah.
good darts from Sova on that map that I saw in rank. You could kind of throw double shock darts from Ramen into the top of B Heaven to try to stop that kind of
Yeah.
camping pressure. But again, you have to guess because those guys could be
Niche.
playing mail and stuff like that too. So I do understand that. What would have been actually the better part to use against that lineup of Sentinels, knowing how they play?
I sometimes run the same lineup on that map, right? It's
Yes, every time they
Raze
play
Jet.
this split map, it's like the Raze Sage combo towards that B main that seems to have a lot of good effect there into the B control.
I don't even remember what they used to run. Sage, I think Sage is pretty strong on this map. Sage or Breach. I don't know. I think it's really hard to deal with Sages if you don't have like something to counteract it with like a faster play, which I don't know if Sova provides.
By the
I
way,
think
shout
dealing
out to Sage.
Sage
finally
Raze
making
is
it
hard
the
to deal
meta,
with
man.
annoying either way. Doesn't matter what your comp is. That synergy in heaven is really obnoxious.
That was really bad. But Vanity, man, so far it's been good. We're gonna try to wrap this show up before VCT starts, but this interview has been fun.
Yep.
Is there anything you want to say to the viewers out there? We actually hit 100 viewers, which is pretty cool, man.
Hey,
So
what's up,
you-
chat?
No,
They
the
all came
chat
for you,
loves
Vanity.
by the way, Vanity. They literally all came for you. If it wasn't for you, we'd have like 3 viewers. So
We're dropping to 20 as soon as you leave, so you can always stay if you want.
any love you want to show to the people out there, man. See, look at the chat, man. They're going crazy. There you
MCE.
go.
See, legend.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't know. Get the support. Hopefully, we can get some results in the future.
All
For
right.
sure, man. Good luck with that, Vanity. Hopefully we'll see you guys play versus Dignitas, and then eventually, hopefully, the TSM into the brackets. I'm pretty sure that's going to be one of the matches that would be the hot ones to look out for. That will probably be streamed. So I'm looking forward to see you guys' development in the team.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
No problem, man. Looking forward to seeing
Thank
you
you,
measure
man.
snow again soon, too, man. You take it easy, Vanity. Thanks for coming by, all right? You take it easy.
You too. See you guys.
All right.
Peace, brother.
I love the cat ears. Yeah, by the way, that is a real picture from Vanity. I saw